need you when you're in the position of being able to do things for them. But then once you get older and you can't really help out as much, then, it's like you kind of like push it to the side. And
So what we talking about?
about how kids just don't treat you the same as you get older, and you're maybe not able to help out as much, financially, and maybe like babysit the kids and those kind of things. So then they don't appreciate you as much.
Now I'm on a different level.
Okay, so you talking about what? So what you gonna talk about?
Well, my issues with my kids, although they are grown, I have the same issues about them being ungrateful and disrespectful and blaming me for things that has happened in our lives and their life. So my issues are that their father died, so I'm the blame for it. So they are holding this against me. They're holding this issue, their issues that they have problems in their lives against me for the rest of my life. And I can see as I'm over 50, my health is declining, and I have panic attacks, and so I can't brush off the behaviors that they have anymore like I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Juliet's just turned 50, but I'm 74.
I'm 54.
So, okay, so it's a 20-year difference. And the thing is, we both have problems with our kids. A lot of times she would talk to me and she'd be like, Gladys, you do this, that, and the other. But then when her children got older, she saw what I was going through with mine, and she said, I used to try to tell you so-and-so, and now I can see just what you were talking about.
Yes, that's true.
And I just feel like now that I'm 74 and I don't have the stamina to babysit, and I don't have the financial ability to do a lot of things to help out my family, it's like, nobody picks up the phone and say, what are you doing today? Would you like to go to the movie? You want to go out to lunch? Mm-hmm. It's just like you're just an afterthought. Oh, man, so-and-so, we did thus and so. But, nobody's trying to include you into anything. So, and my friends around my age, some of my friends, a lot of times when I might have the energy to go and do something, she's ill. And then she might have the energy to go somewhere, and then I'm sick. So it's kind of hard for us to even plan to do any type of activities.
Right.
This is very personal work for me. Politics. I believe I was called to tell my story, use my voice, be a voice for the community, to speak to and for a community of people that's been ignored, denied, overlooked. Religion. This is my life's work. Religion. I want to use words to uplift, heal, inspire, encourage. Do something different. Every Monday at 10.
Good day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm Craig the Redder Stewart, and this is So Much to Say. These are my thoughts in my voice on black shit, white shit, gay shit, and everything in between. Today we are talking to my mom, Gladys, again, and one of her good friends, Juliet. And they are here to discuss aging and raising recalcitrant kids. Let me, frame it by saying my mother has always been like my biggest support system. Even when I first started off writing, I moved to Atlanta right after college, and I was on this quest to become a songwriter. Ended up writing and producing a stage play before anything really happened with the music. The show sold out. My mother loaned me money that first time to help, book the venue. Because the show sold out, we were able to pay the money back. But leading up to that, or I think subsequent to the show selling out, the show flopped twice. It flopped twice. And during that period, I didn't have a backup plan. All I knew, I was 26 years old, all I knew was that I had written and produced this stage play that had sold out. Tyler Perry had come, he was in the audience, said the show was brilliant, he wanted to help. I thought that was my ticket. I thought that was when things were gonna take off, and it didn't happen that way. So I had probably a 2 or 3 year period where I was just really kind of living aimlessly. Didn't have a job because I was just really on this on this quest. I had gotten a taste of what it would be like to be a full-time writer. And again, I was 26 years old. And so at that period, my mom was at the height of her career. She had her business. You, of course, Juliet, was really instrumental in helping her get her first clients. My mom had an assisted living business, as did Juliet, here in Baltimore. The money was coming in and, you know, things were really great. And so she was literally putting in my bank account every month a minimum of $2,000 a month. It got to the point where she was doing it almost systematically, because prior to that, like, I'm very resourceful, so I would figure it out. Like, my mom has 3 kids. I've always said, whether she's going to admit it or not, I've always said that I am the most reliable and responsible one, so I would always try to figure it out. Then I'm a Taurus, so I'm pretty proud. So it's not instinctive for me to say, well, hey, can you help me? I need you to, you know, do this. It would literally be after I had exhausted every single possibility. I was going to the United Way. I was calling, I was contacting organizations in Atlanta that will help you pay your rent, or whatever it was. Like, I was on it. And so I had organizations that were paying my rent. I talk extensively about that in my first book. But then there were points where they wouldn't help anymore, because each organization is only going to help you about one time. Mm-hmm. But then there were moments where something would happen. Like, I had started my greeting card business, so then I would get a nice check from that, because then I would move into a new store. And, you know, so something was always happening.
I remember that greeting card business.
So something was always happening. But then it came a point where I just did not have the money. There were no resources. And so, like I said, my mom was putting this money in my account systematically. Like, every month she would just drop it in there, right? And so fast forward, I did my show again in 2007. We opened to a sold-out crowd. We did 13 shows. My mother has always come down to help me get the shows ready. At the end of that show, we had sold out, but if you know anything about staging a production like a play, a lot of the people, when they come to buy their tickets, they're buying tickets with credit cards. And so the box office can't cut me a check until all of the credit card receipts clear, right? So what they do, and they're not going to give you the cash first and then give you credit cards later. They're going to give you one payment. So I had to wait for the credit card. So I couldn't pay my payroll. And so I remember my mom gave me $10,000 to make that payroll, right? At that point, how old was I then? That was 2007. I had to be 31. I was 31. So she gave me the $10,000. I made the payroll. I gave it right back to her. I think it was like a week later, because, like I said, once the box office cut me the check, I gave her money. I would say that was probably around the last time that I ever really had a big ask. Since I've been, working on these books and releasing these books, I haven't said, oh, hey, can you do this for me? Like, it has never been a thing where it's like, oh, well, hey, can you give me? Now, there have been moments where I'll say, hey, loan me $500 because I need to order books because I have a reading in LA or I have a reading in this city, and I need to buy my plane tickets, and my own personal stuff is due. Where she said, oh, here, take the $500. But when I tell you, just as sure as I'm sitting here at this table, I am the only one that will repay her. But I am the one that she will worry the most about it. Where's my $500? When you gonna give me my $500 back? You ain't said nothing about my $500. And I'm like, girl, you ask me about that $500 one more time. But let anybody else ask. My mother has 3 children. She won't even let them need something. They ain't repaying.
Well, can I give you a little history?
Go ahead. Go on, give me a little history.
Okay. It's around about 20 years that we have known each other. Mm-hmm. When I was a case manager at Hartford Bel Air Mental Health System, and she had her assisted living, and I was going to start an assisted living. Now, in that 20 years that I've known her, I've been married 3 times. Mm-hmm. My children were little then, because my children, I'm old enough to be her daughter, so my kids are small in comparison to you all. Even though, even though you're her youngest, right. You're still older than my yours, kids. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when each time I bought a house, she gave me the money to buy the house.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I had to move, And I don't know why I wasn't this type of person that rent a house. So I needed I forget how much it was. Whenever I bought a house, she gave me the money to buy the house, which I paid her back. Didn't I? Okay.
That's to make sure, right?
I paid her back. But every time I was to do something else, I never had the cash to do it. She always had the cash, and she gave it to me to do it. So I would not have been able to do some of the things that I needed to do.
Right.
But yet she credited me to helping her to get the clients in her house and do this. And to me, that was nothing. That was easy.
Right.
I know, but you did because, you know, I had met so many people and they kept saying, just give me a call, I'll help you out. And you would call them every time they wouldn't answer the phone, or if they did answer the phone, they would never refer a client to you. So then when I met you, and you started sending me clients, and I'm like, oh, goodness, because remember, I kept calling you at first, and you kept saying, call me back. And then later on, you said, well, you know, it was a lot of stuff going on, and I couldn't talk in front of clients, but I'm going to help you, and you did, so I appreciated that.
And here's the thing, like, I can't say enough about how generous she is, and how much she does for people. Sometimes it just frustrates me because I see that she doesn't always get that thing in return.
Right. And so it frustrated me when her kids, and I don't want nobody fussing to come and
Look,
fuss with me.
this is so much to say, so we're going to say it exactly how it is.
So when her kids would come to her wanting this and wanting that, but yet they weren't down at the house helping or doing, or she had to go to the market, then I would have to step in and help some kind of way, or go here or go pick this up or do this, and I'm like, she got these grown kids. But my kids were little at this time. So I was like, I'm not going to tolerate that off of my kids. When my kids get grown, they going to do this. They going to be that. They going to be this. They going to be that.
And now the tables have turned.
The tables have turned. My kids are nothing like what I had planned for them to be or what I had raised them to be. I'm actually going through the same thing, or sometimes maybe even worse, that she went through with her kids, because I did not understand when I was telling her what she should do with her kids. I did not understand the reality of it. I was in my own world, and I thought I knew what I was talking about.
Right. But here's the thing, you know, the reality is, like when I think about all that I have accomplished at this point, and of course there's so much more road ahead, so much more that I want to do. I'm not even halfway to the point of what I want to do. But when I think about all that I've accomplished, and I say this all of the time, women, in particular, black women, have been there to support me, have been there to hold me up, have been there to feed me when I didn't have the resources, because I had put all my money into staging the play or printing greeting cards or, you know, flying to work with Brandy in LA, whatever it was. Like, I had put all of my resources into my ideas. And at the front of that line, because like my friend Angela's in that line, my friend Danielle in New York is in that line, but at the front of that line of women that have supported me, it always goes back to my mother. So everything that I've accomplished, she is a part of that. Even back to my degree, like the fact that I went to college, because my dad and I, we were in a different space at that time, because he had remarried, he was sending child support. Fortunately, my mother had the good sense to put in the divorce papers that he had to pay my child support until I graduated college or I turned 22, whichever came first. But the reality is, if it wasn't for her, I would not have graduated. She paid for me to go to Hampton University. You know what I'm saying? So I think about all of that. And everything that I do, I'm trying to do so that I can reward her and show her. But sometimes it is so frustrating. It is so frustrating at times, because I feel like, and I'm not just saying this, and I'm not just tooting my own horn, but I think that because I am the responsible of her 3 children, even though I'm the baby, but I'm the most responsible, I feel like she just calls on me for everything. Case in point, yesterday, now we in Baltimore, we're visiting. She says to me, oh, well, can you run me to get a Pepsi? I'm about to walk out the door. can you take me to get? I'm like, your grown daughter is upstairs. Your willing, able-bodied daughter is upstairs with a car. She ain't doing nothing. Why she can't do it? I feel like and it's almost like, and I'm by far not a millionaire, but you know how like you hear successful people always say when you're the most successful person in the family, you're the one that everybody in your family turns to. That's how I feel, and I don't even have no damn money, but I feel like every time she needs something, I'm the first person she thinks to call, and I'm just like, girl, you raised me, your son, your daughter, and your daughter's 2 boys.
Well, what do I need from you that I've been calling you for? Or you mean just questions or something?
No.
Like what?
Okay, here we go. Doctor's appointments. Now, she lives an hour away from me in Atlanta. She thinks that every time she has a doctor's appointment that I'm supposed to drive an hour to pick her up, then drive back to the city because the doctor's not near her, it's near me.
No, I didn't say you need to come pick me up. Really, we can meet halfway, or if he can bring me to your house, and then you can take me to the doctor's.
But here's the thing. The doctor's appointments aren't situations where she can't drive herself. It's not like she's going in there to get some sort of a... You understand what I'm saying? It's not like she's going in for some...
But I don't think you all understand. I'm 73 years old, moved to another state, and it's not like I can just drive like I do here in Baltimore to a doctor. You got to be getting on the highway. And
you do not need to get on the highway in Baltimore. But I have gladly taken her to the doctor's.
And you should. But what I'm saying is, I can't leave Ty's house and go through streets to get to the doctor's. It's like in a whole nother town. But the doctor's is in Decatur. So that means I got to get on Highway 85 or something. I don't know where I'm going.
You can't go through the streets.
My little great-grandson gave me a GPS, but I just don't even fool with that thing. So, I mean, a lot of days I'll just get in the car and just ride around just trying to learn, how to get around on my own, but I don't get out on the highway. And it's just like one day I had a doctor's appointment, and he had me on this live something, and he was saying, well, Ty, get ready to go and come in town, to sell that food. And I said, well, I sure hope he don't have it in my car. And Ty heard it, and he got an attitude, but like I tried to tell him, this is my car. If I don't want food carried around in my car, that's, I'm the one that brought and paid for it. Plus, I don't want all the miles put on my car from him leaving from where he lived to come all the way into the city and back, So,
but I let me just say this.
Then wait a minute,
go ahead.
Julie. So then, this was, I can't even remember what day it was, but anyway, the day came up that I had an appointment over in Lawrenceville. Never been there. So when I came upstairs, I said, Ty, you ready to take me to the doctor? He said, oh, since you got so much to say on whatever that was
Facebook Live.
He said, see if you can just take your own self. So he didn't take me. So
now, see, I've never done that.
Down. So I came out, got in the car, and I came around the corner. I said, well, I'm going to go to a gas station and see if somebody can give me directions. Because then I didn't even think about that little GPS. So when I turned the corner, was this Caucasian man standing in his truck. And I stopped and said, can you tell me how to get to this doctor's office? I showed him the paper. He said, well, go up to the corner and make a left. And, he was like, he said, I tell you what, just back up. And you follow me, I'll take you over there. And that's what he did, So, and I said to myself, then he's being smart with me and not taking me. Suppose anything could have happened. I could have been in an accident or anything. So,
but here's the thing. So I have gladly taken her. So like she'll come to my house.
And you should.
She comes to my house the night before, spends the night. But see, here's the thing. Here's the other thing that complicates it, that makes it difficult. First, she lives an hour away from me. The doctor is closer to my house than it is to where they live. So she spends the night, but sometimes it's really a challenge because she has that dialysis Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The doctor's appointment is on like a Tuesday. So it's like, why can't you come over? Like, I be trying to coordinate, and then traffic in Atlanta is a beast. So like, even though I'm an hour away from them, it can sometimes take an hour and a half in traffic. So the last time she had a doctor's appointment, we made the appointment for a Tuesday. I have to give up my entire day for a Tuesday, which is fine. Then the next day, she wanted to go to my dentist, which was Wednesday, so she spent the night. It was the entire day that day too, right? So when we're leaving, so of course, since I'm giving up 2 of my days, I don't have an assistant. I got books I'm shipping out. I'm trying to write a 3rd and 4th book. Yeah, I'm hosting a podcast. So I have my own personal stuff I need to take care of. So I'm like, okay, well, let me run and take this errand, run and do this errand after we're leaving the dentist. Well, I want to go home now. Why we can't go home now? I said, because it's the middle of traffic and I'm not about to drive way up in that. It's an hour without traffic. And I said, so we just gonna go, I'm gonna run my errand and then we're gonna go sit at my house until this traffic die down and then you can go home. Well, why can't I go home? You can sit at my house just like you sitting up there. What's the difference? Like she has something to do. So I sometimes feel like she just doesn't even appreciate or respect my time. And it's like, what I really feel rather, is that when I say no, I don't feel like she respects when I say no. And it's like she'll keep pushing and she'll say it in a different way and she'll come back later or she'll call the next day and say it in a different way. And I'm like, Mom, we've already had that conversation. And this is not always about something with her. It could be something about what's going on with my nephew. Like she's prodding me to say something to them about whatever's going on in their life or whatever's going on with whatever they got going on. And she'll just keep trying. And I'm like, Mom, that ain't my business. I don't have anything to do with that. And the only way that I would know that is because you told me. And if I go to talk to him, then he's going to be like, well, why is she telling you that? You know what I'm saying? Then he's going to turn around and be mad with her. But the thing is, I try to do as much as I can, but I'm carrying all of this on my own shoulders. I'm printing 3 books now, because I have 3 books. That costs money. I'm traveling. I pay for this my book tour myself. I'm buying these plane tickets. Sometimes I have to stay in an Airbnb. Sometimes I'm staying in a hotel. Of course, because I'm traveling, I have to eat out every day. It's not like I'm home and I can cook my own food. And I don't think that she understands that. I don't think she gets that. And so when she calls me, and I call her every day that she goes to dialysis. Every month, I mean, we talk just about every day anyway, but I definitely call on the days that she goes to dialysis. But then she'll come around and say, well, you ain't even called and said, I'm like, well, I just got off the phone with you. What are you talking about? Or she'll call me in succession. She'll call me 4 times in a row and be like, and then if I'm busy or if I can't answer the phone or I might be at the gym, my phone might be in the car or whatever, I could be in a meeting. When I finally call her back, well, I called you 3 times. Girl, I saw it. I was going to call you back. You didn't give me a chance to call you back. I was going to call you back. I mean, it's just like she tries to run my life. And it's just like she tries to run my business. Case in point, she got these 2 houses here in Baltimore. Before she moved to Atlanta, I specifically said to her, I think you need to, because she asked me, I don't give unsolicited advice. She asked me, well, what do you think I should do? Da, 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 da. So I first told her, the house that I grew up in, I said, you need to go ahead and either rent it to some strangers, get Section 8, and do the same thing with the other house. You know, the other house downtown where she used to have the assisted living. I said, you need to get a property management company. Well, I don't want to do this, so she didn't want to do that. I said, okay, well, what about Section 8? I ain't doing that because you might get these unruly children and they've been and tore your house up. I said, well, that's what a security deposit is for. But the thing with Section 8 is guaranteed money. So even if the tenant, doesn't have their portion of the rent, at least you're getting rent from the state. She didn't want to do that. So she wanted to move my sister in. Rent to them. Oh, okay. You go ahead. I'm telling you now, that's not a good idea. Wasn't here a month. Didn't have the rent money. Who calling me on the phone? My mother. Well, she talking about... I don't want to hear it. I'm busy. Is this all you call? Do you need anything? Because I'm not discussing that. Because I told you before she moved in not to do it. She was supposed to buy this furniture. Never gave her the money for the furniture. So she moved into a fully furnished home. She ain't pay no utilities. And it's like, my mother want to talk to me about it on the phone. And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it because I told you that 6 months ago not to rent it to her. But you wanted to do it anyway. So you have to figure that out. Because I'm not in that. I don't have anything to do with that. Same thing when she was moving. She asked me how to go about moving. And she's never lived outside of Baltimore. I've lived in California. I've lived in Jersey. I've lived in Virginia. I've lived in Atlanta. So I've moved. I've done my fair share of moving. I'm trying to tell her the quickest, the seamless, the best way to move everything. Juliet, she was packing pots and pans from when I was 10. I'm like, why are you packing them old pots and pans to ship? To ship.
Well, you're not letting Juliet say nothing about her.
Go ahead, Juliet. So you feel like with your kids, how does it parallel with what my mother is saying?
Well, also what I was thinking as you were talking, like I said, I've been knowing her for 20 years. So, and I remember some of the stuff that was going on, and I was saying, don't do this or do that or don't do that. And then anyway, years went by, and then I'm going through the same thing that she had gone through. And what I was thinking about when you were saying when she expects you to do this and expects you to do that, because she has paid her dues with you and her kids. She's paid her dues. She's paid into you.
I understand that.
Okay? As well as the nephews and all of that, because she's also supported them as well.
Right.
And even I remember when your sister was married, she did everything she possibly could to keep that together, to keep
giving money.
So
she never got back.
So she's paid her dues.
I understand it.
I think, well, wait a minute.
Go ahead.
So, and I've done the same thing. I bought a house for my son. I helped him go to college. Every time they moved into a place, I furnished them.
Up every day to go to school.
I would wait, and Gladys say, "What are you doing that for? What do you got? He's grown. Why do you got to call him up and wake him up to go to work or to go to school?" And so what I was doing was just as ridiculous as when she was doing it. Okay, but I found myself doing the same things that she was doing. Okay, and so now I'm all broken up. I'm not as broken. My health is not as failing as well as Gladys's is, but my health is broken down to the point that I have panic attacks, I have anxiety, they think I had a heart attack. I don't know how true that is, but I can't do it anymore. I can't, it's hard to break away. When you got your kids, and you don't want to do that anymore because that is taking over you, you can't just walk away from it and not do it. And so when I had this conversation with Gladys a month ago, and we were talking, and I said, "Well, I tried to tell you that, Gladys. I tried to tell you." And she said, "Well, Juliet, my mother did it, and that's just the way I am." That's
and I say to her all the time, I'm like, God, if you were not mama all over again. But my thing is, it's like she'll sometimes give to a fault. And see, the difference is I'm not a taker. I'm not going to keep taking. But the other ones will.
Because after you get a certain age and you mature, that's how it's supposed to work, okay? Right. Your mother is supposed to help you. They do it with the white kids all the time. Then after a while, they take over in their own lives, and they take what they've gotten. That's why they call it generational wealth.
Right.
Generational wealth. Okay, your parents are supposed to help you
to a point.
To a point. Then after that,
you're supposed to be able to pick up and run. And that's what I'm saying. But for example, like my sister had a neck injury. She was living in Delaware at the time. My mother was living in Baltimore. My mother was driving up there every time she had a surgery. Sometimes my mother had to stay in a hotel because the surgery would be for 8 a.m. the next day.
I remember.
So she was doing all this, spending all of this money of her own. Sister got this big settlement. Didn't even take her to a lunch. Didn't even take her to breakfast. And then when my mother's health started to fail, I'm jumping on the plane coming up here 3 and 4 times in 1 month. My sister was going to the appointments with her and stuff like that, but it was always something. She didn't have gas to take my mother to the doctors, or she didn't have money to eat, it was just always something.
Right. And see, Gladys never did call on me to ask me for my help on those things, and I can say that by our age difference, she knew more, or she was more mature than I was. And so I learned and kind of was raised by her in my 20s to another level. She kind of raised me up a little bit because I don't have the relationship, that kind of relationship with my mother. But at the same time, she is a friend too.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I remember the question that you asked me years ago.
What was that?
You said to me, my mother is so much older than you. What is up with you?
I said that to you?
You said, what is...
Trying to figure out why you were so friendly.
Why are you
with her.
friends with her and she's so much older than you? What are you getting out of this?
Uh-huh.
And
I've always been for coaching.
and why are you doing this? And I was like, the best I could answer was that we were just friends. But everybody is. I'm an old soul, so I've always had friends older than me, always, because I was always more mature than folk my own age.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the answer is in terms of why your kids ended up whatever way that it is, in terms of not really being reciprocal?
I think with mine is that I always, I might be angry with them about something at a time, but then when they need some help and I can help them, I feel like it's going to, mend the relationship and make it better.
I think that's definitely what you do.
But, to have your kids not speak to you and
see, I've never done that.
Then what did I do so bad? And then you don't even know what it's all about. And then now I wonder that I'm older, what kind of relationship are they going to have when I'm no longer here? Because I wouldn't want my children to be not a family.
It's funny that you say that, because honestly, and it makes me sad to even think about that, but I have said to Angela, one of my closest friends in Atlanta, I said to her, it's sad to say, but I really do think that when my mother dies, I won't have a relationship with them. I really don't think I will, because in just being completely transparent, before we started recording this, I actually had an argument with my sister, and she's just so angry, and I just don't have room in my life for that type of anger and bitterness. The stuff that she is angry about has nothing to do with me, has nothing to do with my mother. That's her own stuff, and I just don't subscribe to this idea that because we're family, that I have to allow that type of poison in my life. I just don't. And so even like in the past few days that I've been here visiting, I say hello when I come into the house, but we haven't said anything while we've been moving around in this house. You know what I'm saying? Like I just choose not to even engage in that. But I think that what happens, because she's made you feel like you are responsible for everything that went wrong in her life, I think that you try to compensate with that, and that's why you pay this utility bill here. Because why is it that she 54, 55, however old she is, you renting this house at a steal, completely furnished, and my mother paying the utility bills from Georgia? Now, who does that? I'll wait.
Well, I know, Julia, do you worry about your kids, how they're going to get along when you're no longer here? Are they going to have a relationship?
Well, they fell apart when their father died. We broke up because he got on drugs, and they've never been right since.
Have you ever considered counseling or therapy for them? Have you guys done that? Like a family counseling?
On and off, not really formally. One time I did a counseling with my oldest son when he wouldn't let me see my granddaughter, and my goal was to get him to let me have a relationship with her. And the therapist said, "What do you want out of this?" I said, "I want to see my granddaughter." So that's what happened.
So what precipitated that? Why did he not allow you to see her?
Because he was living in my house at the time, and he didn't want to work, and I asked him to leave.
Right. And that was the punishment, his punishment.
Yes.
And I think that, to your point, I think that's part of the reason why my mother doesn't put her foot down with my sister. Like, she'll do it with my brother. She put him out because he relapsed recently. And she put him out of the house, told him he couldn't even come here. But it's for some reason, it's like she just tiptoes around my sister, and it burns me up. And I think that's why I end up lighting into my sister so much, because my mother won't say certain things, so then I end up saying it. I know I said this at the beginning of the podcast, but like I was saying, when I was about to walk out the door yesterday, my mother said to me, "Can you get me a Pepsi?" And I'm sitting there thinking, she's sitting right here. She ain't doing nothing. She ain't even paying the utilities in here. You need to ask her and use her every chance you get. And like I said, my mother was going up and down the road to Delaware, helping her when she was sick, when she had that medical procedure. But it's like my mother can't even ask her for certain things. And when my mom had those different surgeries that she had, and when she started the dialysis, it was like she called me, this before she moved to Georgia, she would call me in Atlanta talking about what she wanted something to eat and da-da. I'm like,
but you never called me.
No, I know. But I think you had just got married, you and Joe. I know.
And so when I found out that she wasn't getting the proper foods, then I had somebody come over and
Right.
but that was then I say, well, okay, that was then I wanted to keep it going.
Right.
She never called me
Right.
and asked me for anything.
Right, and I understand. I've never done dialysis, so I can't imagine how draining or exhausted you would be coming back from it that same day or even the next day. So what I did was, because again, I was living in Georgia, she was living here in Maryland. I found this place here called Movable Feast, where they deliver meals. Like they prep the meal, and all it has to do is go into the microwave or whatever. And it was a renal diet, because she had just started the dialysis, so it was a specific diet. So I found that. But it's just like, and I'm not saying that I wasn't supposed to do this stuff, but what I'm saying is, you would think that 2 grown adults that live right here could have been able to do some of this stuff. My concern is I don't want my mother to feel like as she gets older that she doesn't have a support system. That's the thing. Because even now that she lives in Atlanta, she's an hour away, and it's hard for me to get over there sometimes. And so I end up having to spend the night over there.
And in a lot of families, it's always one.
It's always one. I'm the one.
Right. Okay. So, and I work with elderly people all the time. Some of them can have 10 kids. It's always only one.
Yeah. I try, and I catch myself.
Well, who do you think you could depend on?
Nobody.
Out of your children?
Nobody.
Really?
No, I can't depend on any of them.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think subconsciously, now we're about to play Dr. Phil, do you think that's why you get married? To have that support system, because you can't, or maybe on a subconscious level, you don't think that you would have it in your children?
Oh, I get married. I don't know why they come around me when I'm single, but when I'm single, they, somebody always there to take care of me or help me. No, none of them.
Somebody that you meet.
A man or something will come and take care of me,
Right.
and then I get married.
So do you think there's a link there? There's a connection?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a link for them to take the place of my kids. They always do more than what my kids will ever do for me.
Right.
But there is a connection there to have somebody taking care of me or helping me, because I have so much. I got houses, I got this, I got that. I can't take care of that stuff.
Right.
And then see, when you grew up, you had a grandmother, and it's nothing like a grandmother love. You know what I mean? She took you in. So that's something you miss, I'm sure, with your kids.
That's a good point.
I think that you should definitely explore if the door is still open for you to have like a family counseling with your kids, because to be able to try to mend that relationship, because there's probably some stuff there that you guys haven't unpacked. Like you said, one of them hasn't been right since the father got on drugs and went to jail or something like that. A lot of times we pack things in and we don't really talk about it. Like I talked about recently. True. I talked about recently how when my brother went to jail for 23 years, he was sentenced to 45, but he served 23 years. I was probably in middle school. I probably was in the 7th grade. Nobody really took the time to sit down and talk to me about what happened. Now, of course, I didn't languish because of that. I still continued to prosper and do whatever it was I did. But I think sometimes family dynamics will change, and nobody really addresses that with the kids. And so they're left trying to figure that stuff out as they're going along. So it has nothing to do with you and why he's disconnected from talking to you or whatever. It really is this piece of him that hasn't been served. Right.
And I thought about having counseling, and I've been told that I do know that I need counseling for myself as well. But I'm afraid that some stuff is going to come out that's going to have me lose my mind.
But that's the only way that you can heal. That's the only way that you can get to the other side of it. And I think that...
But it might not. It might be more that they just missed their father in the relationship they had.
Well, they say that they blame me for him dying.
But that's what I'm saying. But maybe with counseling, they can make them understand that it's not your fault.
Maybe so.
And of course, on some level, they know that you're not responsible for him dying. But sometimes when there's pain like that, you just kind of just ascribe the pain to whoever's closest to you.
Well, I'm told that if I stayed with him, and he would not have died. Whereas he died because there was nobody there to support him or help him. And I just feel like some stuff is going to surface that they're going to blame me. All this hard work that I've done and the sacrifice that I've put out, and they're going to blame, well, it's your fault. Because they'll verbally say some things, it's your fault because of this, and it's your fault because of that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I can handle much more, but I know I do need counseling, because I need counseling for myself, because if it's so much my fault, I need counseling for myself, because now all of this hiding, suppressing, running is taking a toll on me. It's like if I move to Atlanta,
and it's demonstrating itself in those panic attacks and all that other stuff.
Absolutely. So if I move to Atlanta, that's running. I'm running. Mm-hmm. You know, I've always been a runner. Mm-hmm. Remember, every time I didn't like something, if I didn't like something on the job, I was gone. Mm-hmm. If I didn't like where I lived, I was gone.
So maybe you should start with your own counseling.
Right.
Maybe you should start with your own counseling, where you have it's just you and somebody who doesn't know you. You know what I mean? And you may have to, search around, shop around, because you may go to one counselor and you may not feel really open. Not to say everything's going to come out in that first conversation, but you got to make sure you feel that energy feels right, and you can open up to them. You know what I'm saying? You'll know after one session. And then if not, try to find somebody else. But I would maybe even start with a referral. Like, you may know some people that have been to counseling, and they may already have a great counselor in place that they can go, that they can refer you to. Mm-hmm. But in terms of my mother, what is it that concerns you? Like, what are some of the things that you feel like you haven't been heard?
Well, like I said, I just don't think anybody really spends any time with me to see what I would like to do or what I'm thinking about, stuff like that.
Well, we're going to get a pedicure this weekend.
Well, we don't have many days left. And
but thing is, but in my own defense, there have been times that I said, well, won't you come spend a weekend at my house? Oh, well, I gotta go to dialysis on Friday, which I know you do have to go, but she'll skip it when she wanna skip it.
Yeah, but I skip a Wednesday.
Right, but let me add this.
Well, what difference is it when
Craig,
you skip a Wednesday?
Because that'll be a 4-day stretch.
You see how when she said, and you said, well, we're going to dialysis. No, we're going to pedicure on Friday. It's bigger than that.
Well, she said spending time.
I know. You're trying to resolve it.
Right.
It's bigger than that.
So what is it? Let's get to the
It's big.
The root.
It's more to it than you just taking her to go get. It's bigger than that. Mm-hmm. And I'm just guessing, but I'm thinking she wants more. She wants a better relationship with all of her family. Mm-hmm. She wants y'all to get along. Right. She wants y'all to.
Now that's a tall ask.
But I'm just saying,
for all of us to get along. Because see, again, that requires my sister to go unpack her own stuff.
But some stuff might be too big. But it's bigger than you and her spending time together.
No, I get it. And I mean, I really truly do. Like, I just spent the night over there last week. And then I didn't spend the night last week. Last week I went over there and I spent the day. I spent the night before we came up here, partly because she had to get to the airport. And mind you, I live close to the airport, but I had to drive an hour to go in. So I'm saying I do make certain sacrifices. Right. But I just feel like sometimes she doesn't acknowledge the things that I do. And then I don't think she's clear. Here's the thing. This is what I feel in a nutshell. I feel like because I don't work a 9-to-5 job, she thinks that my time belongs to her. Right. I feel like she thinks that, I should just be able to just stop what I'm doing and just come and do whatever. Oh, it's just an hour. You could drive over here.
Right, but okay, and that's another thing. Okay, you're the most stable one of the three, and the nephews and everybody. So you're the most stable. So you gonna tax that stable one. Right. You're gonna go. I get it. You're gonna go. Can you do this? Because you make it happen.
Yeah, right.
It's not going. Right.
Right. So and I understand that, and I know that's why she does it.
So you're gonna, and that's a coping skill. That's what she knows how to do. Okay.
And the thing is, here's the thing, and I don't want to cut you off because you're making really valid points, and I'm picking up what you're putting down. I know all of that. I know it's because she knows I'm going to be the one that's going to get it done. But I just feel like sometimes, like, the things that she know that they can handle Ask them to do the small things. Call me for the big ones. Because like I said, the Pepsi yesterday.
But it's no them. It's only you and Donnie. Because Jimmy's in the program. You know, he's in the drug program.
Well, when I say them, I mean call on Donnie, but also call on her 2 sons because you raised them. They're adults. So what I'm saying is, I'm not asking them to be able to do the things that I can do. But what I'm saying is, for little small things, you know what I'm saying? Like the Pepsi yesterday. I keep going back to this Pepsi. I'm like, why are you asking me to go and get a Pepsi? And she's sitting up there with her car out back. Like, she's not doing anything. Like, literally. And it's like, I sometimes feel like I can't get to all, I feel like I don't have the support that I sometimes need because, and now this is going to sound selfish, because for example, like there are times where I'm like, I just need to get a little piece of change from her and be like, hey, can I just borrow this so that it can give me like a few extra steps? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I have 3 books that I print. I have hotels and stuff that I have to, sometimes I just need a little cushion to be able to feel like I'm ahead of the game, right? I can't even borrow nothing because she done exhausted everything to them. And it's for, I almost cursed. And it's for stuff like their water bill or it's for their car insurance. Like, really? I'm trying to build a business. And it's like you giving them all the money just to be basic? I know that was selfish, I'm sorry.
No, it's not. But looking at the bigger picture, okay, I done already said that you're the one and you're the one you tax. They tax the most stable one. You're the most stable. You're the most reliable. So you're going to be the it. All right? So then in your mind, you're overwhelmed because you're worried about her and you got your books and your business and your this and your that. And you're doing it. You're a one-man show. You're doing it all by yourself. But just look at it like this. When she's unable, I'm not going to say when she dies, but when she gets to the point where she can't even ask for a Pepsi.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And then you're going to be like, I remember when my mom asked me for a Pepsi.
But even beyond that, that's what I was saying a moment ago. I don't want her to think that when she gets to that point that she's not going to have a support system.
Right, because you're going to be there. And you're going to be there and you're the one. But I think, and I'm sort of lost for words, but I think that it's sort of, you can't make people do or go the way they're supposed to be. So she can't change her because she ain't. I have worked and I've learned that I can't fight her no more on things that I can't control because I used to fight her.
Right. And that's what I feel like I'm doing. And I think sometimes she thinks that I'm being mean to her or I'm being abrasive, but it's just that I'm frustrated.
Right, but she gets it in her mind, I don't care what they say, he say, she say, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Exactly.
And that's my money, it's my this or this. And that's her way of justifying what she's going to do anyway, regardless of whether it makes sense, it's real, it's what you're saying is for real, making sense. She don't care. She going to do what she want to do. So therefore, you got to change your thinking.
Right. You're right.
To cope.
You're right.
That right now, your coping skill, because you know I'm a social worker and a counselor. Although I need my own counseling from somebody else, not me. But right now, your thinking is, your coping skill is, I'm only going to do so much. I'm only going to tolerate, and then I'm cutting it off. I'm not doing this. The Pepsi, that's my cutoff period. I'm not getting the Pepsi. You know, but that's your coping skill right now. But that's going to get old, and then you're going to have to get another. Then you're going to have to cope another kind of way.
Let me tell you how you're right about that. Because in my mind, and I never even really thought about it when I did that. But you're right, because in my mind it was like, I'm cutting it off at this Pepsi because one of them can do that. Now, I'm not even about to waste my energy doing that because one of them can go and do that. You know, and it's just like I'm staying at my dad's house while we're here. She in the house with my nephew and his mama. She calls me in another house. Oh, could you and your father go and get me a sandwich from that place? You literally picked up the phone and called me and asked me that, and you in the house with 2 adults. both with gasoline in their cars, their respective cars.
Well, let me ask you this: why you couldn't ask them for the gift?
That's what I'm saying. It's like she won't ask them.
Pepsi.
No, why couldn't you ask or for the Pepsi or for
anything.
the sandwich or
Because
whatever?
to me, sometimes she act like she don't want to be bothered. So
I
that's
was
why.
going to say that, but I wanted her to say that.
I'm glad you did.
Even though you don't think that you should do it because they're here, she got more. She'd rather deal with you
Fussing about
not doing it because you're gonna do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I couldn't do that because the place closed in 10 minutes when she called. So this place closes at 3. So the place was closing. So I said, well, I don't know what to tell you because they about to close.
But you get my point.
Right, I get you.
You're gonna do it more than likely. Something or compromise or substitute or something. She's closer to you.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it.
Because they will cut her off.
Right. I mean, they literally have stopped talking.
You won't.
Right.
You get mad. You fuss. You say what you're doing, do what you're not going to do. But you have never, as far as I know,
I've never stopped speaking.
Or cut her off.
Right, no.
You've never cut her off. You even if you're mad with her, you will come through some kind of way for something.
I'll call that, or I'll send an email. Like recently, she got under my skin so bad. I don't even remember what it was about now. But I think it was about this whole moving thing, coming down there, and my sister not doing what she said she was going to do in terms of paying the rent and stuff here. And like she called me trying to talk about it, and I was just like, you know what, Ma, I got to go. And I got off the phone. But I felt bad after I got off the phone, and I sent her an email. I sent a little nice email, and I put in the subject, I love you so much. And then when I got into the body of the email, I just explained why it was just sometimes frustrating to, you know what I mean, to hear sometimes. I feel like she puts herself in some of these situations.
Right. And she knows that. And she knows that that's taxing on you, but she feels that you can handle it, and you're all she has. So you it.
Right.
You the man. So you're going to have to sink or swim. Suck it up, spit it out. And more than likely, maybe down the road, y'all going to be staying together.
I might have to come and live with you if you move to Atlanta.
I thought you and Gloria were supposed to be getting a place.
Yeah,
Well, you know, she's keeping her options open.
Right.
She's a smart woman, you know. It's like, okay, I get my sister moved down here, Juliet moved down here, and I got Craig. Because I can't depend on this and I can't depend on that. So I got to get my stuff in place. It's a method to the madness.
Well, I just always hope and pray things will work out with you and the children.
Yeah. And so if I moved away, that would get me, I wouldn't have to deal with the everyday living of them being the way that they are.
But who's here?
But
Just Julius
I still got to live with myself.
Right.
Just the 2 boys.
And Ebony's here in Glen
is
Burnie.
she?
Yeah, she bought a house in Glen Burnie.
Oh, okay. I didn't know she had moved here.
And she's so angry.
Oh, is she?
Oh my God. She's terrible.
She's like my sister, angry.
See, I don't know your sister's, all of her circumstances and what is going on with her. And Ebony is so much younger than her. Ebony is like 28. And her stuff, she been mad since her father died. She tried to commit suicide. You know, she spitefully towards me joined the Air Force to spite me.
Oh, she joined the Air Force to spite you? Because you didn't want her to go?
So she did it without telling me, and she went, and it was just...
So how often do you talk to your kids? Do you talk to them on a regular basis, like over the phone?
Well, she calls me all the time, but I'm like, if you don't... She called this morning or yesterday, and I might talk to her every third time she calls. Because I don't like that attitude.
Right. So you intentionally avoid her calls. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And then she's like, she wants to do things. So I'll try to find stuff that we could do, like quilting, or let's do doll houses, But I don't like that. I don't want to do that. But, so I just...
Well, Ma, why do you think that you struggle with being firm with your daughter? Because you have no problem saying whatever you want to say to me or with Jimmy.
I don't know why I'm like that with her.
But girls are different, aren't they?
Yeah, probably because girls are different than boys. And I guess because you want to have a good relationship with your daughter because, you do good friends and mother and daughter and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know why I'm like that with her. And I mean, she'll stop speaking for months at a time, and I don't even know why. What did I do to you? Or what did I say? So, but anyway, I keep saying I'm going to change. I'm so much like my mother.
You going to change in what way?
And stop, just stop giving in to them all the time. I just told her today.
Are your sisters like your mother, too?
Yeah.
Well,
not all of us.
Not all of them.
I think Arlene is.
I would say Arlene is. Mm-hmm. I would say Caretha is in ways. Dottie, Aunt Dottie? No.
What about Gloria?
Gloria, no.
Gloria kind of
a little bit
goes in and out of it.
Mm-hmm.
She sometimes kind of does a little too much.
What about your older sister when your older sister was here?
Nope.
Do you ever get anxious when you have to ask her something or tell her something? Like, for example, like you just had the conversation with her today about what?
No, I didn't get anxious because I told Terrell yesterday, I think it was, or the day before that we were going to sit down and have a conversation.
Terrell
and,
is my
she
nephew.
always say, that I just try to use her and take advantage, and I'm just mad because she settled her case and she didn't give me anything.
Which
and
I
I said,
think
that's
was
no
another
more than
problem.
what I expected from you.
But, the thing is, like I mentioned earlier, she settled a case. My sister settled a case. My mother raised both of her boys. And not to say that because my mother raised my sister's boys, that she was obligated to give my mother something when she settled her case. But you would think she would have said, well, here, Ma, I want to do something nice for you, or here's a gift certificate for a spa treatment, or whatever, just a gesture. Like I said before, she didn't even say, well, Ma, here, let's go over here to the Golden Corral for a senior citizen lunch for $10. Didn't even do that. But we'll be in a relationship with old sorry, trifling, drug addict guy who will bleed her to death. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you haven't done anything for your own mother. You will go and drive and pick up his girls from school. But as soon as my mother asks you to do something for her, it's a bunch of complaints and arguments and.
No, well, I need $20 for gas. That's what it is. She go down to Fruminelli to pick up people's
So how are you
rent.
going to
Same thing.
resolve this situation?
Well, with her living here.
That's what I want to know, because she ain't on top of the
she'll
bill.
just say, she says she's going to move, so hopefully she will. Because like I told her a little while ago, just before you came, I'm not going to be arguing with her every month about this. I'm not going to do it.
So, is there a deadline, a date?
See, that's what I'm talking about. See,
Well,
is
that's
there a
what
date?
we're going to, that's going to be my next conversation. Give me your date that you're going to move out.
And
See,
so you need to write that down.
and see, that's the other thing. I'm always like, well, why didn't you write this down? You need to. I told her, even when I told
Well,
her.
even Terrell said that you should have had a contract.
Terrell is her son. And here's the other thing. She and Terrell, her son, live here. She barely coming up with her portion of the rent. But then Terrell is paying all of the utilities. Why is he paying all of the utilities? Tell me, well, why? She gonna say, I don't even understand why I gotta pay for water. Are you serious? You bathe, don't you? You cook, don't you? Like, why do you think that you shouldn't have to
So
pay
why
for water?
can't? Because I'm thinking, okay, you live in Atlanta now. Get rid of all of this responsibility.
Yeah, that's what I could do.
I mean, these are old people.
Right.
I don't want nobody to get mad at me. But
These are grown people.
So get rid of all this responsibility.
And let them figure out where they're going to live.
Right.
And that's what I tell her all the time. What they going to do.
Because that's what happened with my mother. She was always, trying to keep space for this, and this one might have to come home, and that one have to come home. And I used to tell her, I said, don't worry about that because they don't do anything to help you.
And now
Why are
she's
you
doing
always trying to keep space for them to come to live? And then, when you need something, you can't even get anything from them.
And then, again, I don't think that it's wise to sell the house downtown because that property is going to skyrocket soon. I still say that with that house, You get a property management company because you don't even have to be there. Like they collect the rent for you.
Right.
They just get a little percentage off of whatever you charge.
So can you take over that responsibility?
Well, she didn't want to do it, but I can. But she didn't want to do that.
Yeah, because you know, you could let him take over you could even put his name on the deed. I know you have this thing about when you pass away, you want your assets to be divided evenly among your children.
Oh, you knew that? That's going to be the next part of this conversation. Because go ahead, keep going. I know, I'm aware now. Go ahead.
Or was he aware?
I am aware. She looking at me like, did I say that? I'm privy. Go ahead. I'm privy.
So you want to divide all your assets among your 3 children evenly, but whose name is on the house on Fremont
Avenue. Just mine.
So you need to put somebody's name on the house, maybe his name on the house, and then when you write your will, this is what you
The will is
I already
written.
wrote a will.
Okay, so you still need to put somebody's name on that house.
But see, I think that's a part of...
But what I did on the will, I just said the house on Fremont Avenue, you know, they can keep it, but just put a certain amount of money aside. So when repairs need to be done, you know, they can divide up the rent.
But most of the time, children are not going to do that.
Yeah.
That's your thinking.
Right.
That's what you want to do.
She going to leave me here to fight and argue with them.
Right, and they're gonna fight when they fighting
Right.
about. So you don't want that. They might have to let that house be sold or go or whatever.
No, what I would do is buy them out. Because I'm
Okay.
not letting it go.
Well, then here you go.
Right.
But see, here's the thing. So, like, I think that's another issue with my mother, too. Like, for example, one day we sat in this very room. It was me, my Aunt Gloria, my sister was in here, and my mother. And I don't even know how it came up. This was even before you started doing the dialysis, before any of that started happening. And I remember we were talking about a will. You having a will. And she was like, well, I don't have a will, da-da-da-da. And so I can't remember how the conversation came up, but my mother was like, well, I guess I believe everything to Donnie since she's the oldest. I said, you have got to be out of your mind. She has no business sense. You
So
understand?
what was you thinking when you said that?
Well, tell us what you think.
Well,
and
at
I'm
the
gonna tell you
time,
what I
that's
think.
what I thought because she was the oldest and she would take care of everything.
But based on the history, I mean,
Right, but then after, you know, I thought about her history and, you know, I just saw some of her ways.
Here's
And I'm
the
like,
way.
no, let me change this.
So so we had that conversation. She said, oh, I would just put it in her name since she's the oldest. And my Aunt Gloria was like, what? And so my Aunt Gloria said she would just talk to my mother on the phone periodically and say, girl, I think you really need to reconsider that. She said, because I think of the 3 of them, Craig would be fair. He would divide it up, you know, whatever. Because I had even considered, since my mother raised my sister's 2 boys, that we would split it 5 ways. And not just between me and my sister and brother. But my mother was like, well, no, those are her kids. I'm just leaving for you.
I remember
Donnie,
you
and
telling me that.
So I was even thinking of being generous in that way. So anyway, she eventually wrote up this will and made me the executor, right? But the reason why she did it was because when her health started to fail and she had to start the dialysis, she ended up going to a physical therapy place. She elected to go to this physical therapy place.
To that nursing home.
Right, because she wanted to, before she came back here, this is before she moved to Georgia, she wanted to get practice walking, so when she came in here, had to go up and down these steps, right? She wanted to make sure her strength was up.
Right.
So she wanted to go there. Well, she was ready to go after she was there for a few days, and the people, of course, wanted her to stay because, of course, that's about money. The longer a person stay in a facility, the more they're going to get collect from
Right.
your insurance. So she called my sister and told my sister, come and get me out of here. My sister said, no, you need to stay there. Took the car keys, called my
Well, she
father.
already had the car.
She had the car keys. Called my father, told my father not to pick her up. Told my Aunt Gloria not to go up there and pick her up. So my mother calls me down in Georgia. She couldn't even call long distance because she was in the facility, so they didn't even have long distance. So she ended up calling, I think, my Aunt Gloria. My Aunt Gloria called me, and then I called the facility, and I told them, you gonna let her go. And I ended up sending an Uber from Georgia. I ended up requesting an Uber, sent it to the facility, and they let her out, and she came here.
No, they ain't let me out. They kept on walking behind me.
They walked behind
I'm
her,
like,
telling her, you can't
I'm
leave,
not
you can't
staying.
leave.
I'm going home.
So when my sister did that, that's when she put the will to be directed to me. That's when she did it. But I just feel, but they all have a copy of the will. They've seen it, right? Mm-hmm. I think they feel a way about that too. So that's what I'm saying. I think there are things where they feel, because they'll tell you. They think that I'm the favorite.
Well, like you said today, well, that's because you dump your pockets into him.
That's what
Because he don't work
But who
nowhere.
is the favorite? Who is the favorite?
I don't think I have a favorite. I
You
don't
know-
love them all the same, but I love
So
them all.
all your kids, all three of your kids, certain behaviors, personalities,
Right.
you favor to the most.
Probably to Craig.
Okay.
Because he's more fair to me. Well, Jimmy too, because
Jimmy is fair.
even though
I think Jimmy adores my mother, but he just, it's them drugs,
Right.
And so he's not always reliable. But if he was where he needed to be, she would have two to
Right.
rely on.
Right.
So, but right now he is the one that you can rely on, and he right now is the favorite, even though you love them all,
Right.
and you love them all, but right now he is the favorite.
Right.
So what they're saying, he's the favorite. They're not telling no lies.
Right.
Right. You gotta accept that.
But here's the thing about that. Like my mother just said, today they got into an argument. She and my sister got into an argument today about the rent that my sister isn't paying, right? But in that argument, she said to my mother, well, you emptying your pockets to Craig because he don't even work nowhere. See, my sister has this perception that I don't do anything because I don't have a 9 to 5, that I got to be relying on my mother to pay my bills. My mother doesn't pay my bills.
But sometimes somebody has to have a dig and a cut.
Oh,
in.
absolutely. Absolutely. But that's why I always have to get her together.
Gather. I love that. How you do it? What you
I
do?
always have to gather her, you know, and let her know. I gotta let her know.
You gotta
know
let
what I'm
her
saying?
know.
But see, that's her own resentment. Like, how are you?
Right.
You assuming?
Right.
So what you think? Who you think buying these books?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Nobody, just like you just now explained to me about the box office and
Oh yeah, the tickets.
I didn't know how that went down.
Yeah.
And even still now, I don't know how your money is bringing it. Everybody should know that anyway.
And trust me, I don't feel no obligation
Right.
to explain to her.
Okay.
I really don't.
So nobody needs to know, and I don't understand. I don't know, but you got to be doing something.
Right.
But it's really nobody's business.
Exactly. And I'm
Okay.
at peace with it. Like I
So-
just don't feel that need to explain to her.
Good. So right now she's older, and you the one. And I know you overwhelmed in a lot of ways, but you just got to come up with ways to work that through, because it ain't gonna get no better if you
Right.
thinking on other folks gonna help you.
Right. Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
It's not.
Right.
All right.
Now me, I ain't leaving my children nothing.
We're going to leave it to the grandkids.
Leaving it to my grandchildren, and I got in my mind how I'm gonna leave it to my grandchildren, and I talk to them about this is what I want and this is how I want. I don't care if they grow up to be bums.
Okay. Do you have a will already?
I'm
structured?
getting it I'm going to get it structured and put together, and I'm going to get it airtight so that no one can contest it.
Yeah.
Right.
And what you do is you put in there, if anybody contests it, they're automatically kicked out of it. That's how you do that.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh
You're
yeah.
so smart.
Any final thoughts? Anything else that we haven't covered? Anything you want to say, Mom?
No, I think that's it.
Juliet?
No, I think this is good. I think we could do this on other topics as well.
Yeah,
Right.
I think this was a good perspective because you are women of a particular age, and you do have a 20-year gap between you. So I think this would definitely serve people who are in the same sort of.
And it's good because even though your children were little when we met and mine were older, and you could see a lot of problems I was having with my kids, and
It foreshadowed.
she would be like, "Oh no, I'm not going through. I'm not."
But
putting up
I
with
was
that class."
ready. even though I was more ready for the problems because I saw what she had, and it wasn't a shock to me. It wasn't a shock to me.
I know, because you called me one day and you said, Gladys, I just don't believe that I'm going through the same stuff you went through with your children. I said, yeah, Juliet, I know. But I never thought they would turn out like this. They was just such good kids.
They really were. Them little Jehovah's Witnesses.
I really like them.
I know you used to say something about that to me. She Jehovah's Witness. You don't do this, don't do that. Why?
And she didn't celebrate Thanksgiving, but you be parked over here for Thanksgiving. Well, I'm not coming for Thanksgiving. I'm coming for dinner.
That's right. And then he would tell you the reason why her kids are the way they are because she sheltered them.
Baby.
She sheltered them and didn't let them do anything.
He's always been ahead of his time.
But anyway, but I just think if they had taken
you
paths,
told him that they were sheltered.
Right. I told him that
I
they
wouldn't
were
even let my kids go outside and play in the street.
And then you had them up in the county too. You wouldn't let them come to the city. You didn't let them take the bus.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, I said, you know what? I said, I know why you don't listen to anything I tell you, because you probably saying, well, the son is in jail and the other one's on drugs. What can she tell me about raising children? I said, but it wasn't because that's the way they were raised. That's the path they took.
Right, because I think
but they gotta have some street sense. You
they
can't
gotta
just
have some street sense.
You gotta let them kids get out.
Because there's only so much that a parent can give to a child. You know what I'm saying? There's a fine line between what a parent can give and what a child wants for themselves.
Yeah. And I just think
at that time
Julius,
I didn't see it like
was
that.
in the computers, that animation and stuff. I just really wish he had I kept telling him, I said, you need
now
to go
his
to Disney.
brain can't do any of that stuff anymore.
You kidding?
He is not. He can't even get the baby. Well, I saw this commercial on TV. Were you giving drugs while you were in labor? Did your baby lose oxygen? I'm like, my child did all three of those things.
Oh, did he?
So maybe that's why he's all screwed up.
Okay.
Well, this has been so much to say. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe. It is free to subscribe. The podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever you can listen to a podcast, we're there. And to find out more about me and the books, visit www.craigthewriterstewart.com.
And just like this morning before I came, I told Julius that my grandson they told me that I might have had a heart attack, a mild heart attack, and I said, Julius, this stuff that you're doing is getting on my nerves. It definitely has to stop. That went through this ear, and he didn't care. Mm-hmm. He really didn't care.
He probably just doesn't understand, maybe.
He didn't care. He was like, whatever.